VHSs when my family would rent a VHS machine, and they would rent that movie, days. And that would be.
We are completely dating ourselves.
Yeah, we are.
Let's move on.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm not sure. But yeah, that was kind of my first. I guess that was my gateway into comics, and then I started. Buying Batman, Superman comics, Spider-Man comics, and I guess I was probably 11 years old, and my grandmother, for my birthday, bought me The Dark Knight Returns.
Wow.
And I think she had no clue as to the content. It was just a Batman comic book to her. Oh, you like Batman, right? Here, read this. And that was one of those kind of defining moments where, I looked at the artwork and it seemed so much more detailed, and it had painted colors, and I said to myself, this is what I want to do.
Now, are you self-taught? Did you go to school?
Yeah, I'm mostly self-taught, but every time I say that, I have to add that I was really lucky. I started my career working at Wildstorm Studios with Jim Lee, and so that was really my art school. Was working with a bunch of the amazing guys who were working at Wildstorm at the time, and it was definitely a school type environment, and very cool. A lot of really amazing, talented guys, Jeff Campbell, Travis Charay, Aaron Weisenfeld, some of the guys who were working there at the time were just incredible, and are incredible talents. So I learned a lot, and they were really hard on me. So it was either improve or be horribly made fun of. Do you have any influences on your work that is not directly from comics? Yeah, there are quite a few actually. I really love film, so I'm really influenced by a lot of cinematographers and filmmakers out there. I try to give my work a bit of a cinematic vibe if I can.
Who are a few of your favorites?
Oh, I love David Fincher. I really like the work of Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino. So those are the guys who kind of hit my switches.
I can see the gritty guys.
Yeah, those 1970s crime films. I like those quite a bit. And as far as illustration goes, there's a lot of early 20th century illustrators, Norman Rockwell and J.C. Reindecker, guys like that really influenced me when I was first learning how to draw. My mom had a Norman Rockwell coffee table book that was in our house while I was growing up, and so I would sit and copy with a pencil. I would sit and copy Norman Rockwell paintings.
That's amazing.
Yeah, not very good. It's not like they were very good, but I did my best.
See, what are some of your favorite things to tackle artistically, and what are some of your least favorite things to have to deal with?
This guy. I like to tackle this guy. He's Batman and that kind of universe is definitely one of my favorite comic book characters, and it just lends itself really well to the things that I like to draw. So I can make with Batman. It's just built to make things atmospheric and kind of gritty and raw, and I very much like that.
What was the inspiration for the Cape and Cow design of yours?
It was like the way I tackle really any story is I try to think of it a bit like a costume designer / cinematographer. So I'm trying to look at the most realistic way possible to interpret the characters. And So, for Batman, it came down to kind of wanting to, ground him in a bit of reality. And for me, doesn't necessarily mean the Chris Nolan kind of interpretation. But I always saw him, probably because The Dark Knight Returns was my first, the first interpretation of that character that really changed the way I was viewing this campy 1960s Batman. He seemed like kind of a gritty urban soldier almost. So that's part of the way I think about his design is definitely more of like a, he's doing urban warfare. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
So what's your work ethic like? Very regimented?
Very, yeah. It's a pretty normal day. I work pretty long hours, but I like to get up and start working, 8:39, and try to keep a fairly normal schedule, even though I tend to work late into the night as well. But I found pretty early on when I was working at Wildstorm that it's easy to start staying up all night and working all night. And then that continuously gets later and later, and you're waking up later and later and later, and then you lose all sense of time. So I try to keep myself on a fairly normal schedule.
So you recently, it's not out yet, tackled both the keyboard and, Batman Noel. You did both. What are some of the different challenges for you writing and drawing your own stuff as opposed to doing someone else's script?
Well, it was pretty awesome actually, but I can't really say that it was. I had the benefit of working from a story structure that I knew already, since I knew I was adapting Dickens' Christmas Carol. There was certain story points, and there's a structure to the story that I had to keep. So that made it a little bit easier, I think, than having a blank canvas and trying to create something 100% from scratch, which is what I'm doing now with Suiciders, the burglar book. It's 100% new. So that's definitely been more of a, there's been a real learning curve there, because you're actually creating a world from nothing. But it's very, very fun.
I actually got to see and read the first issue, and it's awesome.
Oh, cool.
It's awesome, man.
Did you hear that? It's awesome. Bye.
What was some of the things that influenced that particular story that you're working on?
I'm a huge fan of 80s sci-fi movies. So like Escape from New York, and, Mad Max, and that kind of stuff.
You and I have the same kind of taste in films, I see.
I wanted to do something kind of along those lines, it certainly has elements of noir in it too, but that I think is kind of what as I'm working on it, that's kind of what's coming out the most.
So what kind of things do you do to recharge your batteries creatively when you're working on a project or a couple of projects at once?
Sometimes it just takes seeing something great, like a good movie, or getting inspired by another artist's work. That always is good for me. But a lot of what I try to do, just to keep my head on straight, is I try to get as much exercise as I can, because I find that really helps me. Like I think, and I find myself, I'm almost at my most creative when I'm exercising, so that's kind of become a thing for me. And when you work a job like this, you're spending a lot of hours sitting down at a desk and doing this, focusing, a few inches away from a piece of paper. So, it definitely helps your spirits, and just you feel better if you get some exercise, I find.
there anything that you haven't tackled as an artist yet that you want to?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff I haven't gotten a chance to do yet. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of actual of DC characters I'd like to kind of get a chance to draw. I'd love to draw Wonder Woman at some point or another. I think that would be a lot of fun. I'd like to do a female character like Catwoman or Wonder Woman. I think that would be. I've never done anything like that before, and I would definitely like to do that. Just give it a shot.
It's coming along. This looks awesome, right, guys? Yeah. Yeah. So how long does it take you to do like one page? You think?
Are my editors standing anywhere right now?
Oh, we could skip over their question.
No, it's okay. It's all right. Everybody knows. I'm not fooling anybody. I'm notoriously slow. Yeah, I'm really slow. There's
obviously you're meticulous.
Yeah, and another thing that I think I found the more I work is, and earlier seeing John Romita Jr. up here doing this thing. There are guys I think who are have kind of a natural gift for this profession, for drawing comics, for storytelling, and they tend to be, I think, fast, and it's easy for them, or at least they make it look very easy. That's not the case for me. It's always been hard work for me, and so I think that it's just one of those things where there are guys who take a breath and a beautiful drawing comes out, and it requires a little bit more blood, sweat, and tears for me, for sure.
I noticed, I think I've told you this before another show, your attention to detail, like before watching Rorschach, I got a kick out of you actually having the right prices for burgers and shakes.
That's not obsessive or anything.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I'm pretty obsessive about that.
Now, do you have a lot of photo reference? You just research things when you have it in your head. You have books. It's
a little bit of both. I mean, with Rorschach, especially since it took place in New York in 1977, I wanted to give it as much authenticity as I could. So I really referenced and researched that period. Watched a lot of movies from that period. Yeah, Taxi Driver and Mean Streets, and I just felt like it came with that particular job was making that era look believable. So, but I like that. That's part of the job that I like. You learn a little bit of something that you didn't before, and that's always good.
That is amazing. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a fan of it.
Do you guys have any questions? Is there anything you guys want to know? Yeah?
Share with the rest of the class.
What was the most difficult drawing, or if not difficult, what's your proudest work of art that you've ever done?
Oh, that's a really good question, because it kind of changes. Insofar as like my favorite comic I've ever done, I would say, art-wise, it's probably Batman Noel. But there's parts of the Joker that I still am, proud of, just because I feel like I was kind of in the zone on that book, and it's not entirely successful, I think, as an artistic piece of work, but I can appreciate what I was going for and not always achieving in that. So sometimes, like, what my favorite thing, that changes. It's hard for me to really like anything I do, especially right after I finish it, it's like I can't look at it again for a while. And then years later, I can kind of go, oh, okay, that's not horrible. But it's difficult.
Anyone else have a question?
If you could draw Wonder Woman, what type of costume would you have for her in mind?
I would definitely give her a little bit of armor. I think that would be a cool way to go with that character. I've always enjoyed people who make her look a little bit more, gladiatorial. I think that would be fun to do. But I think with like when you design or redesign some of these classic characters, you really do have to pay homage to the core elements of what makes their look work. You know what I mean? Like if you stray too much from what that initial idea was, you start to lose the character to me. So, Batman, there's a million different ways you can interpret the characters, as you can see right here. But I mean, the silhouette of Batman has to stay the same, right? And the silhouette of the costume is really important to me. Like, there are elements that have to be gray, there are elements that have to be black, and you play around within that. It would be the same for Wonder Woman. I think there's certain parts of her costume that are really essential, and I wouldn't want to mess too much with them,
What's your most requested sketch at show?
The Joker. By far. That's cool. I love drawing the Joker, so it never gets old for me.
What is the strangest things you've been requested to draw? Keep in mind there are children.
Yeah, I can't say it. I can't say it. Strange.
Well, it looks like you're almost done, so I guess we have to figure out who is going to get this awesome drawing that I completely will covet.
No, I just use a regular drawing board. Just like a drafting board. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to bring up, not getting out too much, about Suiciders, your upcoming project?
Yeah, sure. It's like I said, it's kind of like an 80s sci-fi movie. It takes place in LA 30 years after an earthquake decimates the city, and there's two sides of the city, one very affluent and newly rebuilt, and a more kind of still very destroyed ghetto side of the city. And the main sport is this gladiatorial, futuristic kind of gladiatorial sport called the Suicide Games. And the two main characters of the book are both these characters called Suiciders. And so one is kind of the best of the best, and his life is kind of falling apart. He has everything, but kind of starts to lose it. And the other is, a kid trying to be the best of the best. So, I guess there's elements of, movies like The Fighter in there too, and I've heard people describe it as like Escape from New York meets Gladiator.
That's a good way to put it.
So as you guys can tell, when I start throwing down blacks here, the drawing starts to kind of finally have some volume. So that's something that I like a lot, at least in my work. sense of weight to things. When you have to make something look three-dimensional that's two-dimensional, a lot of times finding a way to make it look like it actually has a weight is one of the most difficult challenges as an artist. I usually use India ink, regular pencils, drafting pencils and stuff I'll use. And I generally do a lot of gray tones and stuff with a pencil. And then I use ink wash to kind of seal it and darken some of the darker values.
How do you like working on the origin covers?
Oh, those have been a blast. Yeah, I've had a great time. It's like you get to do like super iconic versions of all like the coolest characters, right? So what's not to like? What's not to like about that gig? They've been a lot of fun. And I'd never drawn Green Lantern before. I'd never done Cyborg, so there was certainly some new characters to do there.
What else do you have coming up?
I'm mostly 100% just working on Suiciders right now.
Okay.
It's a long project, so and like I said before, I'm notoriously slow, so it takes a while for me to get each issue done. And since no one wants a late book, we're waiting till we have a lot of issues in the can before we put the actual series out, so that everything will come out smoothly. It's a numbered series, and it's also, it will be, I believe maxi series is probably the most appropriate word for it.
We're reaching the difficult point of the evening of how
Almost
to
done.
choose.
Tell us about your cape and cowl.
What?
Tell us about the cape and cowl.
Cape and cowl?
Can I do that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. What do you want to know?
How did you make it?
It was scary. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to actually design like the costume itself instead of just draw on the mold. And then I had the fabric and kind of started cutting pieces actually, and then realized, wow, I don't know how to sew. So my mom's actually really good, and it was funny because she sat. I watched some YouTube videos and stuff like that, and she's kind of described to me here and there, like, it's not hard, you can do it. And then I just realized, no, this is not in my wheelhouse. So I live in Italy, in a little town, and I found a seamstress there, a really talented seamstress who, when I presented her with the idea of, hey, I've got this fabric, and these are my drawings, this is what I want to do, can you make this? And she freaked out. It's like, I cannot make this. But we got through it together. And yeah, so that's the final product right over there. It's a new thing. It was interesting. It's like, gave me a lot of respect and admiration for what they do in costume designers in movies do. It's really hard to make a superhero costume in general, because it's real easy to mess up the proportions, and it's a difficult job. So it was definitely an interesting little experiment there.
All right. So we're giving the high sign.
Okay.
It's
Right, let me sign this.
sharing the stage with you, and
Thanks for listening.
we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Lee Bermejo, everyone. Thank you.